Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of What's Wrong with Mike. What's Wrong with Mike is a weekly show where we look at what is wrong with what Mike is saying now. So what's Mike saying? Here's what Mike had to say.
G'day there. Once again, we find ourselves in the midst of an excellent economic week. Excellent, of course, if you wish to see it that way.
So if you choose to see it that way, which is code for if you wish to cherry pick and polish selected highlights out of an otherwise rather gloomy week.
So what do we have? 100% of hotels will be full this coming Wednesday. Broadly speaking, you can't get a room. Auckland hasn't been this full literally in years.
Mike is sometimes right, and there is an expectation that Auckland's hotels will be 100% full on Wednesday because Metallica's in town doing a big concert at Eden Park. About 40,000 people will attend. And there's also a great big conference of academics here from the 16th of November to the 20th of November, all meeting at the same time. So the convergence of those two events has meant that there's an expectation in the future, it's not realised yet, that there will be 100% occupancy of all the hotel accommodation in Auckland just on that one night. Now, I'd just like to point out, in terms of being an excellent week, this is a spike. This kind of spike happens every time there's a big concert in town. It's not new. It's not sufficient, really, to keep hotel occupancy up all the time. In fact, the average is something probably more like 80 to 85% if you're doing well. Last year, around about the same kind of time, we had Pearl Jam come here, and we had occupancy of 96%. So after the day, that's the time to check whether Mike is right or wrong, really, and whether the expectation actually comes true.
Along with the broad-based cruise season and the warmer summer travel period, of course, we have a large conference and major concert coming. This can only get better when the convention centre itself is open in Eden Park and actually open its gates under proper first world rules.
We've been saying for a very long time that things will get better when that convention centre finally opens. Remember that convention centre had a big fire in it in 2019, and then COVID came along and delayed everything. So this convention centre has been years and years and years in the coming, and it's going to open in 2026, which should see more events anyway that will be happening in Auckland, despite the fact that last week Mike was saying that whole cities have actually been crippled. They've all been crippled, and this is all because of the homeless.
So a record for hotel rooms.
It's not a record occupancy in hotels until after the data is in on Wednesday the 19th. So on Thursday, it'll be very interesting to see whether it was 100% or whether it was just something like 98% or 96% like it was in 2024.
A record this week as well for first home buyers. Never have there been more young people getting into the first homes.
Whoa, stop, that's wrong. Mike says that never has there been more people getting into their own first homes. But take a look at the data that he is actually referring to on this graph here. This graph shows that the number of people who are first home buyers is actually below what it was in 2021. So there were more people buying first homes in 2021 when you look at hard numbers. Now, the point here is Mike's talking about the share, the percentage of a market. And if you really want to talk about it, what's actually driven an increase in the share of the people who are buying homes being first home buyers? Well, that's actually something to do with the fact that the rest of the people that normally buy homes, the investors and the speculators, they're down, and also interest rates have come down a bit. So, you know, the first home buyers are getting more of a look in, but it doesn't mean that a record number of first home buyers are buying their homes. And Mike's quite wrong to say that, you know, more first home buyers than ever before in history or anything like that are moving into their own first home. So that's quite wrong, Mike. Sorry, Mike. Wrong.
Now, this is the real celebration, of course. Despite many people's best efforts to steer money elsewhere, nothing beats real estate. It's a multi-generational obsession in this country. Nothing will ever shift it. The owner of a house, a place to call home, the ability to adjust and mould it to your life and aspirations is not to be underestimated, and people will bleed for that particular pleasure.
back in the 90s, we had a much higher home ownership percentage of people who could actually afford to own a home. Home ownership rates have gone down. And in 2025, I think they're pretty low. In the last census, it was about 66%, I think. And reports that are coming out are saying that this is likely to get below 50%, the number of people that can own their own home in another decade or so. So, what Mike's saying here is kind of like a bit of a wet dream, really. He's polishing up how great it is to own a home, and nothing will ever stop it.
Money at the moment is cheap-ish. Money is readily available and people are buying. So good on them, good on you. What drives all this are a few simple economic truths.
But it's not really the best thing for the country, is it? Really just buying and selling houses to each other.
If you get the basics right, you can't lose. This country must be a destination, must be open, it must be welcoming, hence the importance of sorting our downtowns out with the homeless and all the trouble.
Well, clearly, if you can have 100% occupancy with the homeless there at the moment, it's pretty much welcoming. People are coming anyway. You've got all these cruise ships coming, you've got all that. But that happens every year, doesn't it? So Mike's talking about what happens every year, nothing new, it's all the same. Cruise ships come and go, people stay in hotels, there's a spike with the warm weather, happens every year, it's nothing new, it's not great news. Probably really just very ordinary news.
Also, the fundamentals must be right. You get inflation under control. You earn your way instead of forever borrowing.
Stop right there, Mike. There's good borrowing and bad borrowing. Borrowing for things when we've actually chronically underinvested is a good idea, and you earn that back over time. Everyone does it. Nobody comes up and pitches up with all the capital straight away, do they? When you buy a home, you get a mortgage because you borrow. You've just been arguing that it's actually really good to see people getting into debt and borrowing, and then you're arguing that we shouldn't be borrowing, but we should be earning everything. So which one is it?
You set the economic table for the country to be able to spend and take risk and believe that they have a chance and a future is there. Still plenty to do, of course, on the jobs front, but the ads are up, so that's slowly coming right. The media could play their part and drop the misery obsession. News can be neutral and positive as well as negative.
Mike is part of the media, and Mike is often quite septic. He's quite negative. He flip-flops. Basically, he's basically whinging all the time. And because he goes to awards and he wins media awards, he is the media. But he seems to think he's not the media. And basically what he's trying to say here is cheer for my team. Be positive, even when things are pretty dull and ordinary and repeating year-on-year patterns, like, cruise ships are in town. There's a big event. There's a concert like there was last year. Hotel numbers are up. This happens on a cyclical basis, but suddenly it's an excellent week. And if you choose to see it that way, which is the point, he's being very polishy here about otherwise pretty ordinary events.
And the Funk Brigade could just try.
Well, the Funk Brigade is basically News Talk ZB most of the time. They were funking all the way through the pandemic, and they were funking pretty much after the pandemic, and they're still funking. They're pretty unhappy with the fact that the favourite team is actually behind in the polls right now. They're in a bit of a funk, and so they're looking for glimmers of hope, and that's what this Mike is always right program is pointing out, that Mike's trying to find some polish here, and he's trying to say things are going to come right and to be optimistic about life under National.
To accept that actually there's a decent shaft of light at the end of that tunnel.
Not necessarily. It looks like this recession's going to go on for a long time, and it looks like the prospect of a surplus just got further and further away. The more people that leave the country and take off overseas, take their skills, that means that there's less people paying tax, which means that you've got to cut more, and it just feeds itself in a cycle. Either that or you've got to sell assets, that kind of thing. So I think, Mike, before you start telling people that it's all bright and sunny and fantastic in the future, just get a little bit more real. Keep it real, Mike. That's not what the data says.
Business confidence in the SME sector also had a very good week.
Well, business confidence was up in the SME sector, but it was for their own confidence in themselves, not in their confidence that they would necessarily grow or do very well, or indeed in the economy coming right or anything like that. In fact, if you look at the source that Mike's looking at there, that confidence survey basically said Exactly what I just said, but it just basically said there's hardly any confidence that the economy will come right. Most people, in fact, less than 50% think that their business is going to improve. So business confidence in themselves is always high. That's nothing new, Mike.
And of course, we saw the tourism numbers yesterday, some life there as well.
And tourism numbers, yeah, they were up a little bit in September compared to the previous September, but still, as I pointed out, they were lower than they had been in 2019 in September by quite some margin. So we've got a long way to go, and it's not really that great, is it? He's basically polishing up some bad news here. We're behind those figures in 2019 still, Mike.
Oh, and the All Blacks won and will win again this weekend.
Now Mike's an oracle that can see the future.
If that stuff moves your needle.
Well, he knows what the score probably is in the game as well, because he just knows. So that's that kind of like indication that what we're talking about here is blind optimism from Mike in the situation where his favourite team's going down the tubes. Labour was on 38% already. And with a year to go to the election, wow. No wonder Mike's looking for positives.
In simple terms, this is going places. I am bullish for 2026. This week has been a pretty good building block.
So Mike's bullish for 2026, but it hasn't really been that big a deal. Like I've said, the occupancy in hotels is always up when there's a big event. It's only a spike, a temporary thing. It's not all the time. There's always cruise ships in town that boost numbers. There's some confidence in some of the SMEs out there, but there's also in other sectors, people still doing it hard, say in retail, for example, where things are very stressed. We've also got all of those company liquidations happening that are at record levels. So Mike didn't mention that. We've got a whole bunch of areas that are going wrong. We've got record unemployment. We've got record numbers of people leaving. There's a slight increase of people that come into the country when there's a summer, but that happens every year. So being bullish based on patterns that repeat all the time and are barely moved, the number of people in their first homes is actually lower than it was in late 2021. So it's not as if when Mike says there's a record number and never in history, he's actually telling you the truth. He's just basically wrong. So that's what's wrong with Mike. And tune in next week when we look again at what is wrong with Mike, because there's plenty wrong with Mike.
Welcome to G News, the good news.
Yeah.